Hello, class. Today I would like to talk about the principles of branding. It's a very broad spectrum, so I think it deserves a lecture. So I would like to just go over some things that I think it's very important that we just talk about. Okay, so what is branding? Branding is the entire development process of creating a brand name, and visual identity. So, whether people like it or not, every product, service, major city, business, and organization has been branded. Um, so, here I have an example of Starbucks. Starbucks has an amazing brand, and it's a very strong brand, and they take pride in their brand. So it starts with a name, and then you create a logo around that, and then you start branding, or you have a cohesive look and feel that the company has, or entity. And so as you can see, the Starbucks logo, I mean, they take every chance they get to slap that logo on a cup, um, a napkin. Even their straws are they go along with the logo, and their storefronts. I mean, the whole entire package is branded, and so their brand is very strong. And now they've recently taken off their name on their logo, because now it's been branded in our minds, so much so that they don't even need the name. So that's how good of a job that they've done. So that is the entire brand. It's not just the logo, it's the look and feel and the message that the whole company portrays. So the visual identity, for instance, the Identity Standards Manual is a book that most big companies, every big company, I want to say, has a book which is kind of like their Bible, and it's all the do's and don'ts of their logo, their colors. So they have their Pantone colors that they choose, and everything that they do, let's say it's a brochure or if it's a flyer, or it doesn't matter what it is, it has to be in unity. It has to have those colors. There's certain fonts that they use, and in this example, it shows you there's a certain space around the logo that the logo needs all the time. It can't look cluttered. The logo always has to stand out. Um, the school has a standards manual, and it's very strict. When you work for a design company, and you design for them, they expect you to learn a lot of these things that this manual has. So there's certain things that you can and cannot do. There's certain ways that maybe you can phrase some things. So it's important that you know how to use the Pantones, and if you're in the web world, you have to use RGB colors and things like that. But let's see. Let's read what this says. Identity Standards Manual. This sets the standard for the logo usage to ensure that each time it is used, it follows the set guidelines. This helps to keep the logo usage consistent. Not just the logo usage, but the entire brand. For instance, there's, like I said, there's certain ways that you can use fonts. There's certain fonts that go with the manual. There's ways to maybe use photos. I mean, it's a Bible. It's a big book, and this manual is very important to the companies, because that's how you keep that consistent look. Okay, so that's mainly every company that I've worked for has that, and that's the first thing that they'll give you, is to go over branding guidelines. Okay, so Pantone colors. We talked about in Illustrator how you can get to the Pantone colors, but basically when you choose a color, you look at this book, this Pantone book, and you can clearly see what it would look like printed out. So this is more, the book is more accurate than the actual colors you see on your screen, because the colors on your screen might look different in one computer than it does with another. And so the Pantone chips, the actual book is going to have the accurate color. Okay, so your logo should first pass the black and white test, which is something that I told you before, that it should have proper contrast before final approval. If your logo doesn't look good in black and white, it won't look good no matter what color scheme you choose. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're choosing colors for your logo. Used with different methods of printing called offset printing. The Pantones, okay, I'll explain it, but it ensures the exact color in every press. So the Pantone process, it doesn't go with every type of printer. This is actually an older way of printing, which is called offset printing, and they mix exact inks, and that's how they get these Pantone colors. But let's say if you use Pantone colors, you're not going to get the exact color if you're using, let's say, a Xerox. So it works differently with a Xerox, which is a digital printer, than it would, or your home printer, so you're not going to get this exact color. The Pantones is really more for offset printing, but we're not going to get into that. We'll get into the whole printing process in the future, okay? Okay, differentiation. When most goods and services offer the same benefits, why do you choose one over the other? So we were talking about Starbucks earlier, right? Why do you choose Starbucks over McDonald's coffee or something like that? Why? Or why do you choose McDonald's over Burger King? It's just, we all have different trends, people, and tastes, and sometimes we like what the company represents. You might not think that that's a big deal, but look recently what happened with Chick-fil-A. Like, that was a whole nation that got involved with what the company represents or doesn't represent, and so you might think that it doesn't play a role, but it actually does. So a brand is not just, we're this. It's also what they believe, what makes it, also the service. It's everything. Okay, so therefore branding helps differentiate products, services, and groups in a crowded brand world, because you have so many things of the same kind. Branding kind of helps set it apart. To begin the branding process, you need analysis. You need to analyze what it is and do market research against your competitors. Okay, so two main verbal differentiators are brand names and the tagline, a slogan or short distinctive phrase used to identify and promote. So you have McDonald's and Burger King, and each one has a tagline. So that's another way to differentiate the brands. Logos. If you go shopping, you need only to glance at the logos to know a lot about the product, the manufacturer, the quality, and the price range. Not only does a logo serve as a label, but it also conveys the message about the spirit and quality of the brand. How many brands did you interact with today? As soon as you wake up, you start interacting with brands. There is your toothpaste, your toothbrush, there's your shampoo, there is your cereal, your oatmeal, you name it, everything. Sometimes I feel like designers, we're kind of in the background of everything that we consume, and people don't see what we do. It's like sometimes people ask me, like, what do you do? And I say graphic designer, and that can mean anything, really. It's so broad, but you'd be amazed. Everything that we use and do has graphic design behind it. Even the tile on your floor, someone designed that pattern, you know. So designers are everywhere. So everything that we have, our pencil, our computers, our water, the water that we drink, you know, everything. So we interact with brands all day long. So what would you choose? You begin to eat with your eyes because colors begin to colors and pictures, they send messages to the brain, and it makes you hungry. So as graphic designers, we know that. We know what colors look more appetizing than others. So if you see this generic cereal box, is that going to make you want to eat? No, but it might be cheaper. So which one would you choose? So maybe you choose the generic brand, but then you switch the boxes or something like that. I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay. All right. So what is a logo? So I have here 2 examples of a logo, mother and child and families. I think they're so cute. So a logo is a unique identifying symbol. That is very hard to do. As I was telling you in the other video, a logo is a symbol that you have created to come to its simplest form that is going to identify your company. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to make a good logo. And to be honest with you, it has been the hardest thing for me to get good at. Everything else was just kind of easier because it was easier to play with, let's say, the layout of a page or something like that. But when it came to a logo, it was just so hard. But now I've gotten a lot better, so I really enjoy it. So logos, also called brand mark, identifier, logo type, or trademark. But mainly nowadays I just hear logo or maybe trademark. Trademark sounds more like a word or something like that. Okay, so it represents everything a brand or group represents. Provides immediate recognition. Okay, so if you see the Apple logo, you know what you're buying, you know. It just it's something that just becomes ingrained in your mind. You know what you're getting, you know, based on that logo. Okay, so here's a famous quote that I liked. It says, "A successful mark is one that engages the view and allows them to play a small interactive mind game with it." I like that because, you know, if you interact with the person with your logo, you've already caught their attention and makes them think. And that's what we try to do. Okay, so types of logos. There's all kinds of logos. Sometimes logos are made and I don't understand how they got approved. But happens all the time, and you know, we're human, we all have different tastes. So we have the type of logo that has the founder's name, named after the company's founder. So we have one like Martha Stewart, for instance. We have an explanatory logo named to describe the product or services. Like it would have, like Toys R Us has the word toys in the name. Then we have expressive or inventive names that have a certain sound, like Haagen-Dazs. Actually, that word doesn't mean anything, but they chose it to look foreign because sometimes we think that if it's foreign, that it must be better. I don't know. Sometimes they're playing along those lines with that. So, well, I like it. I don't mind that ice cream. Then we have acronym like IBM. So that's basically formed by their initials. So let's see. Okay, so we have more types of logos here. We have abstract symbols that don't really match what the entity is. It just is something abstract. So I'm not saying there's something that's right or wrong because there is no book on what's right or wrong. It's really experimenting and see what is aesthetically pleasing, to be honest. But it has to look pretty simple, yet, like that quote said, it has to kind of play a little mind game, you know? Then you have pictorial symbols, and you also have a combination mark, combine words with symbols. So sometimes when you're just starting, it's good to have a little bit of maybe an explanation. You know, if you go with something abstract, it's good to have like something underneath it. Until you're as big as Starbucks, you can just take off your name. Okay, and then you have figure ground positive and negative shapes. I chose FedEx. It doesn't look like there's a negative shape in there or a hidden message in there, but it's actually very clever because the words itself create the shape. So do you see this little arrow that the X creates? Genius. I mean, so simple, and just the arrow showing, you know, where it's going, it's expressed. I love it. Okay, so then we also have letter form, unique configuration of letters. So just playing with the letters and kind of merging and creating a shape. Okay. So color theory. Okay, a little bit about certain colors when you go to the grocery store that I've learned along the way. Red and yellow are appetizing colors, and black isn't. Okay, so hence why McDonald's and Burger King and a lot of fast food joints choose red or yellow because it actually makes you hungry. And black doesn't. So you're designing for a food logo, don't go with black. All right. So green is used to show that something is low fat in packages. Even if it's low-fat cookies and it has not 1 ounce of a green leaf in it, it's just mentally, we'll just look at that as reduced fat or low fat or fat-free, and we'll make that connection. So when you go to the grocery store, notice that the low fat usually always has some green labeling in it. So I've started to notice these things just, you know, being in the industry, you know. So color emotion guide. So here we have that the yellow is clarity and warmth. So you see all of the yellow logos here. And we have orange being cheerful and confident. So we have Nickelodeon and Phantom and Payless. We have red, which is youthful and bold. Coca-Cola, Exxon. Then we have pink, which is imaginative and wise, or kind of looks pink or purple. So we have Barbie and T-Mobile. And we have blue, dependable and strength. So we have a lot of technology logos that are actually blue. Stationery design. So once you've created your logo, now you have to add it to everything that you communicate with. Okay, so that's going to be your stationery. If you write a letter to somebody, if you write an invoice to somebody, if you write an estimate, um, anything, you want to make sure that you design your templates. Okay, so this is an example, and it's done very nicely. And the this is the whole package: designing their logo, I mean their business cards, their envelopes, and their letterhead. So the stationery, they match the design to the personality of the brand, group, or cause. It, it utilizes the element of continuity. It coordinates all elements: letterhead, business cards, and envelopes. And you should use legible type, okay, because this is how you're communicating, and you want to make sure that the post office can read it. Clearly displays the address, telephone number, fax number, email address, and web address. And nowadays, maybe even social media, because that's really big in marketing now. So, so when we get to design business cards, we're going to have to make sure that we have we're legible with our information, the important information, which is how to reach you. Okay. Okay, so these are brand logo mistakes. You don't want to use stock images because they make your brand look cheap, unoriginal, or generic. It's like you don't even invest any time on how your logo would appear. And you don't want to use stylized fonts. They don't take time to develop a symbol or use type. So I don't know if you guys know what stock images are. So for those of you who don't, stock images are images that you can purchase, and you can use. It could either be photography or a set of already made, shapes or illustrations. So for instance, photography, you don't want to just start pulling photos off the web, because there are rights and there are copyrights that you can get in trouble if you don't purchase the photos. So that's why we have places like iStock, which if you would like to purchase a photo from there, just let me know and I can get it for you, for my students. So these photos that are there, once we purchase them, you can use them. Okay, so these other photos that you get from the web, you don't have the right to use those, so be very careful. That's why I say, why not learn how to either illustrate or create. You can't always do a typography project. Of course, sometimes you do need to use photos, but if you're working for your employer or your client, they're probably going to supply you with photos. But if you don't, I really also suggest you get a digital camera. I mean, no one knows better than you how you want a photo to look. So I invested in a digital camera, and it helps me sometimes. I mean, I'm not a photographer, but I think as graphic designers, it's important to have access to a camera sometimes, if you want something very specific. But other than that, there's iStock, and they have illustrations there, but for you to take one of those illustrations and just put a word over it and call it yours, and is just it does look cheap. And also typing something out with a stylized font and just calling it a logo, that's cheap. Anybody can do that. I mean, my little sister can do that. She can just type out a word in a stylized font and say, here's a logo. I mean, that's not how it works, okay? Pictograms. Okay, so pictogram is a simple picture denoting an object, activity, place, or person. It's usually information that should be communicated as at a glance. Okay, so we we go around, um, the city or public transportation or other places, and there's always these images telling us, where the restroom is, or if you go to the airport, where that gate is, or telephone. I mean, all kinds of stuff, and we've already grown accustomed to them. We recognize where things are. So I didn't even look at these things before. Like, I didn't notice these things were just in the background for me. But as you get into the industry, you start to notice stuff. So I'm going to show you an example of one of my professors when I was in college. And I was so inspired by him. And so I always have to show my students what he did, because they're just so amazing. But I first want to go over and close this presentation. So in summary, logos should have a concept. So think a lot about the concept, brainstorm if you have to. Communicate a meaning, express a voice, communicate an essence. Visual design should hold together as a unit. So if you use a logo and a icon, make sure that they kind of go together. Design a logo with the brand or group's image in mind. Create a logo that will stand up for the test of time, since most logos are used for long periods of time. Designed to be aesthetically pleasing and have graphic impact. Okay? I know it's hard, but practice makes perfect. Okay, so let's go to this website. So this is my college professor. He has all these uh, logos that he uses for this is his portfolio. Like, he designs a lot of pictograms, and I think that they're just so amazing, and he makes them fun. And before then, I would just see these things as like I said, they're just in the background, but then he makes them come alive. So he's done a lot of them for like zoos. So I guess I'm not sure exactly, like if they're for a floor or something, but just love how he just makes something so simple. And trust me, I've seen his sketches. It's not just like, okay, it just fell together and fell into place, and it just works like that. And so here's another one for a zoo. I guess he just does such a great job that they ask him to come back. I mean, not to come back, to do other zoos get a hold of him. And let's see, he has this one too for museum for the floors. That's so creative. I love this stuff, you guys. Okay, yeah, my family thinks I'm rude. I don't care. All right, so, I really like this one too. For the city of Hoboken, I like that, because Hoboken, you have to take a train and cross over to get to New York City. And I just like how he has that, the water breaking through. And he has done so many that I can't show you all, but this is his website. And that's pretty much it. I hope this helps, and I will see you guys next time. All right, take care.